Hi, this is Joel McClendon, and this is my lesson plan presentation. The activity I had my students complete took place in my accelerated pre-calculus class. Towards the end of the year, we have a unit on statistics, which lends itself pretty well to some collaborative work and to some online tools that are available specifically for statistics. So some of the goals we have are to work with different sampling methods, and particularly to understand the role that randomization plays in selecting random samples for statistical purposes. And another goal that we have is for students to compare different features of different distributions. And so I decided to put all of these things together and to use technology to help them to collaborate and then to create some different graphs and things, which then in turn help them to analyze and to compare features of the distributions, which is one of the goals that they are supposed to meet. So I collected through an online source a whole bunch of data on colleges in a spreadsheet. I gave the students access to that spreadsheet, and then I gave them a Google document with instructions, and then it was also the place where they were going to record their findings. And the students got to choose what type of data to collect. In the spreadsheet, there's a whole bunch of data: cost, number of undergrads, SAT scores, all that kind of stuff. And they used a website to create two random samples, one just a simple random sample and one a stratified random sample. They then calculated some summary statistics and used another website, or some of them used Google Sheets, to create box plots, which they used to compare those two different distributions. I thought this was pretty authentic for them because this is real world data, and then also is very relevant to these students who are mostly sophomores and juniors and preparing for applying to college and that kind of stuff. So this is the Google Classroom, kind of where I pasted it. Notice there's a rubric available. Whenever you create an assignment, you can create a rubric, and so that's the rubric that we used there. Link into the access to the students, and this is the document where they sort of did all of their work. Notice the table here where they collected their random sample. It was interesting to see how students approached this. Some of them, if they were sitting in a group, they sort of did it more audibly. They assigned roles for different people, and some of them worked, I guess, quieter, but they all collectively edited the document at the same time. So it was interesting to see how students chose to interact with this, and they collected their random sample here. They did that by going to this website, random.org, which essentially just generates random numbers. And I had them create a list of random numbers, at 50 random numbers, say, and then, like, let's say they came to this spreadsheet, and if in your list of random numbers was the number 24, you would select college 24 and come over here to the data, whichever data you were looking at, and to grab it from one of these columns here, and that became part of your random sample. Notice that this is there's a lot of emptiness here. Some of these colleges don't report some of this data, and that just kind of reinforced the point to the students that real world data can kind of be messy, and even as much as you want it to be complete, it isn't. This is the website where they would input all that data, and then they would generate a box plot. This is one of the websites. There was also a link in the document for a video for how they could create it using formulas in Google Sheets. Some of the students who were comfortable with that wanted to create the box plot that way. And then they would analyze it and compare these two distributions to the populations to each other, and then also to the population parameters that I had already calculated for them. So in action, there was not many technical issues. I had linked in the document to an older version of the spreadsheet. It calls it issue with permissions, but the activity within Google Classroom had the right link, so students just switched to linking to that. One Chromebook lost network connection, so I just had them switch it out. I had another spare one around for that purpose. And in general, the students did not have a problem navigating the sites. I had to clarify a few things here and there about how this site worked, or how they should be going about the task, but otherwise they did pretty well, pretty much on their own. They were engaged throughout the whole activity, and they came up with some problem-solving methods that I hadn't thought of. They reported that it was they were able to report the point of the task, and they were talking to me about that they found it pretty interesting, but they said it was a little bit tedious because sometimes slowly collecting a sample can kind of be. So will I do it again? Yes, I would like to do this again, although I think I would spread this out over a longer period of time. I would have them collect a sample one day and then do some analysis the next day, and we would keep coming back to their particular sample as we move through the statistics unit. So I would maybe broaden it and have them do more things with the sample that they took, so they would feel some sort of personalization to it. But all in all, I would say it was pretty good. I will continue to tweak it as I go forward.